Hello.
Hello.
Wow.
Week 8 rankings, the first week of the jury. Let's go ahead and show the memory wall. Um, as everyone knows,
The
Matthew,
bottom row. Oh my gosh.
rip.
Seasons.
Oh, wait, nope, unrip bottom row.
Oh yeah.
I'll fix it in a sec, but um,
I got it. Just talk. I got it.
okay. Um, yeah, so the week started off with Haley battling her way back into the game. I forgot that has not been discussed in rankings at this point.
I feel like it's been so long. I mean, it has been so
I
long.
mean, this has been the longest week of the game, 4 days. And that's due in part to the 22 and a half hour competition in which Maris won HOH and I think is up there in the top three.
Worse.
Like this is up there with Jenna Deshays nominates Sammy and Natalie. This is up there with Elijah sends home Maddie. I even make this worse than Elijah sends home Maddie because
For
at least
sure.
when Elijah put up Maddie, it was a pawn. Maris actively targeted Matthew, the one person who wasn't playing her in the game. So, and she thinks she was good for that. Like at least Elijah knew he was dumb. Yeah, this was horrendous. This is a horrendous week for sure.
We should not have a top three worst HOA trains on the best one ever win, to be honest.
It was horrendous. For me, and no offense to Maris, but like kind of offense. She's playing the exact same game that she did on season 6. And unfortunately, it worked on season 6 because the caliber of players was lower. And then we saw Sean beat her, which no duh. Um, this time the people are smarter, and Maris is playing very poorly. It doesn't work when you're dealing with a fluid changing game. And only you're the type of game that Maris plays only works when you have two set sides and you can betray one of them because she betrayed one side to go to another side who also has another side working for them that is more beneficial. And then that side, it's too bad game. We'll get to Maris when we get to Maris ranking. But yes, bad.
Okay, let's just get started.
Yeah. Starting off with Alex. Last week, Alex had fours from both of us.
All right. Before we start, I just want to say, man, Alex cannot catch a break, and it is mostly his own fault.
It's entirely his own fault. I don't.
Just look at the stats. Like he has been sending home ally after ally after ally, and his only two closest people left in the game or on the block next to each other. That was sad. It's sad. It's getting sad.
It is getting
Actually, it
sad
has
because
been
these
sad.
people are smarter than this. Listen, Alex, I can't. I love Alex to death, but I can't be like, oh, he's just getting screwed. He fully did it to himself. It all started when he overprotected Murph and Nora. Then after that, he was on the outs and he can't get back in. But now it's like that was the pre-jury phase. We're in the jury phase now. He absolutely has ins with people. However, he's too focused on the fact that Dan isn't bringing him in. I'm sorry. Like, do it yourself. Why are you waiting? Like, literally, you're just like, Dan's never going to make that group. Okay, then make a group. Like, you're on the outs because you're not allowing yourself to gain allies at this point, unfortunately. Because Dan wants to work with you and you're sketch of him for no reason. Or actually, you're sketch of him for good reason, and Dan's doing a poor job on that part. But, um, so I'm just not impressed. He's targeting Kristen and Haley this week, who are the two
Those are
people
the people who should be
that are
working with.
willing to work with him and should be working with him if they want any shot at making it to the end. It's just bad. And he's trusting Anthony, who is the one that wants him out. It's just not good. Um,
So
I
sad.
do think moving forward, more people will want to utilize him, but he's not doing himself any favors. Um, so I'm staying at my four.
I'm also staying at my four this week. I was considering actually going down to a three, but from where I was thinking last week, I think that he's able to get back into the game this week. I mean, obviously we know that Victoria's HOH now. But even before that, I felt like he could probably get back in the game, which is why I didn't lower my score to a three.
Listen, there's a good chance that, I mean, Victoria's HOH, there's a good chance that Alex goes home this next week.
I know. I mean, we'll see. Because I think one of the things that's screwing him over that isn't his fault is that he's getting framed to be the BB sniper. Um, and
But it is kind of his fault. He has all the information. Literally, all he has to do, like, people have called him out, and he's too afraid to be like, no, it was
which is
Kristen.
what I don't understand. Because if you know about it, then either work with Kristen or say it's not you.
And the thing is, he's like, well, Dan said I couldn't, and that's really annoying. Screw Dan. Why are you just listening to everything that, like, you're doing it to yourself? Dan is not the law of the game. I get that Dan's helpful for your game, but he's not the law of the game. And Dan fully is trying to keep Alex in a separate box of like, you're going to work with us, but you're not going to do it yourself. You're going to do what I say. And Alex isn't having that, but he's just complaining about it and not doing anything about it. And that's the problem. So, I mean,
Or
he's on borrowed time. He needs to wake up and align with the people that are actively trying to work with him. Oh yeah.
okay, moving on to Anthony.
Um,
I think we are currently seeing the best game that Anthony has ever played.
I fully agree with you.
And yesterday, before the eviction, I was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen to decide what to do because Anthony can get really, really blinded by things and it can hurt
Agreed.
him a lot. Um, but really, like I'm looking at this here, getting Matthew out. Okay, first of all, with Maris as HOH, with a lot of people, a lot of Anthony's allies could have been like targeted that Maris isn't working with, but that he is. He got out somehow the biggest threat to his own game when he wasn't HOH. I mean, it's just like
It's insane. And Maris can claim all she wants. Oh my god. People Matthew is so stupid for the guy. No, Matthew is absolutely 100% correct. Anthony is controlling you like a little puppet. I'm surprised your insides don't hurt from how far his hand is up and controlling you. Um,
done.
he's running everything. And now this week, finally, we've seen other people to be like, oh, with Matthew out of the game, if someone else like Haley goes this week, it's in his full control. However, this is, and I don't think they're not gonna do anything about it themselves anyway. So it was an unbelievably good week for Anthony to the point where I'm annoyed that it's so good for him, and he's basically like could cakewalk to the end very easily, I think. So I'm going up to a 9, and I would consider a 10, but I'm not going to a 10.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go up to a 9. Um, yeah, I mean,
People need to wake up.
I don't
Jeez.
understand, like, like, oh God, the only person who's coming after him is now gone. I don't understand. Okay, 9 for Anthony.
Alrighty.
Cassidy.
Cassidy. Last week, Cassidy had a 7 from you and a 6 from me. And I have to say, I'm continuing to be unimpressed by Cassidy now. She's playing Dan's
As
game.
well.
She's playing Dan's game, unfortunately. She's lost all of the very few outer people that she had that were more for her than were for Dan. Kate just went home. And which she couldn't really do anything about, so I don't give her too much flack for that. However, Matthew going home, she absolutely could have saved him, and it made absolutely no sense for her to send home Matthew, someone that was going to take her to final 3, then send home Riley, someone who she really doesn't talk any game with, is nice, and is closer with other people in the game. It made absolutely no sense. The votes were there if Cassidy woke up and played her own game, but Dan is too much in her ear, and Cassidy won't do anything without Dan's approval. So she just lost a major piece on the board. And now I think she's in danger moving forward because I think the only
For
person that she
sure.
really does have is Dan. And granted, Dan is a great protector But at this point, Dan can only do so much, and Anthony's gonna try his best. But at this point, Anthony can only do so much. She has Kristen, but I'm not feeling it. I'm giving Cassidy a 5.
I'm actually going to go all the way down to a 5 as well. You're going from a 6 to a 5. I'm going from a 7 to a 5. I feel like not only that, she's also lost like some major confidence in the game. Whereas, like in the beginning of the season, you could tell she was really like, oh, I know what I'm doing. And at the point she did, we had what, like an 8 for her in the beginning of the season,
Yeah,
middle pre jury. Um, you can tell now she's like, I'm in trouble. It's like, okay, then go like
and do something about it,
do
and don't send home
something.
your
Like, I don't
ally.
understand.
You had the
Like,
chance to not send home your ally, and you just said, "Bye,
honestly,
Matthew. It's what Maris wants."
like probably the most frustrating kind of player for me is someone who like is undyingly loyal to someone to the fact where they know it's tanking their game. Like it's so frustrating. Like why do you have to continue to stay with Dan? There are 10 other people that are currently
Yeah,
in the
that's what I
game.
don't understand.
It's
And
just
that's not me saying you
frustrating.
have to target Dan. You should not target Dan, but you should not listen to Dan when Dan wants to keep around Riley, when that's better for his game and keeping Matthew's better for yours.
So
And
fine.
even Dan keeping Riley was not better for his game. Anyway,
Well, we're about to talk about Dan. So hold
we'll
on.
talk about Dan.
I have some thoughts
And
on Dan.
um, Dan made another bad move this week. Um, or another, I don't know.
First of all, first and foremost, I said this last week, and people have said it a lot this week. This thing with David is starting to become like an obsession, and it's going to tank his entire game.
He's so focused on taking David out, and for what? The only reason David ever is considering coming after Dan is because Dan can't take his sights off of David, and by doing so, he's gonna hand Anthony the game. He's already started to do it by sending home Matthew. Matthew was the one person in this game that Dan, I think, really needed to keep around if he had any shot against Anthony. And I think at this point, the next people to go are most likely going to be the Haleys of the world, the Alexes of the world, the Cassidys of the world, and the Christians of the world. And Dan will still be here, but it's going to be Dan, Anthony, Victoria, and people that are for Anthony and not for Dan. So
I'm going all the way down to a 6.
that's where I'm going to go to. I'm just not.
Like, I'm not going to say that I called it, but I'm like, people are starting to get onto him. Alex is like, oh, Dan's not really saying everything to me.
But I also
Even
do. Alex is complaining about it, and I'm not doing anything.
well, even still complaining about it is not great for Dan, even if he hasn't done anything currently.
Um,
And I'm still surprised yet that people haven't been like, Dan is a huge name and is still in the game and is actively doing stuff this season. Like, let's take him out. But I think going into next week, that's where I could see him.
Gotcha. I'm actually only going down to a 7.
Okay.
I looked at my notes and I'm just gonna stick with what I have there. But still, like, I'm just unimpressed. He's making stupid moves. I don't understand the lot. No, and this is no offense to Riley either, but Riley isn't able to be here much as of late and isn't able to talk a lot of strategy. Whereas Matthew is someone that you have constant conversations with, is actively targeting someone that needs to be targeted in the game. If you take out Matthew, all of a sudden no one's going after Anthony, and he didn't acknowledge this till after he already took him out. I think it was a bad move.
For sure. Okay. Um, David.
Listen, at this point, I can't not. David is now at the point where he is starting to do stuff. He is starting to make inroads because he's got Anthony, he's got Victoria, and he's got Maris. That's 1/3 of the people left in the game, right?
And also more
And
than most people, more than some other people who should
exactly.
have more allies right now. So
Then you have Riley and you have Kristen, who at this point have both outwardly said, like, I'm not here to play Dan's game. Taking David out is not the best thing for my game. If I need a replacement nominee, sure, I'll send him out, no problem. But like, I have no reason to go for David, so that's something. Um, the only people that actively want David out, I feel like, are Dan and Cassidy, and maybe Alex. So I can't. He's doing stuff. He's getting more allies. And people are now annoyed with Dan for targeting David so much.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go up to a 5 for David.
I'm also going up to a five. And we said this, and this is why we have had continuously low rankings for David. He wasn't making inroads in the game in the beginning of the season. He was laying under the shadows, and I almost am curious, like assuming that he is starting to pick up now and starts to really hopefully get into a more powerful position into the game soon. I really am curious what would have happened if even if he changed just slightly about his game of talking to people more. Because I think almost making people forget that he was there was good enough reason for not to not have him targeted over people like Nora or
When you
like
were in the game
Amy.
with people like Murph and Armani and Nora and Cade that were just making targets of themselves, it did work. I do think he needed to talk to a few more people, even if it wasn't about game, just personally.
Mm-hmm.
Just needed to physically get his name as like a person that you can work with. That's my only concern for him. But yeah,
So we'll see how that goes moving forward. Hi for David. Haley.
Haley. So Haley has not been given a ranking since week 2.
Would she get like
She
a
is now
two?
back from the dead into color.
Okay, first of all, one thing I want to note about Haley this week, she has made an effort to have a complete 180 from how she got evicted.
No, I disagree, and I'll get to this.
Okay, then you start.
She came into this game, and I immediately went, Haley, you are making the same mistake because she won the beach patrol and proceeded to tell everyone that she did not win it. And everyone immediately knew that Kristen won it and knew that Haley was lying to them. And it repelled them from working with Haley. And then when Haley got put up, it confirmed it. That was the first half of the week. I agree in the second half of the week. Now, we've been saying this for a while. This season, lying is going to get you nowhere. Lying is going to get you nowhere because it's going to get you caught and it's going to get you evicted. There's almost the share of information is really, really crazy. You can't really hide anything. Um, so it seems that Haley has started to play that way and people have trusted her more. Alex is now more on board with Haley. Kristen is very on board with Haley. Dan wants to scoop up Haley and not send her home. There are people that want to work with Haley. So coming into the game, she could have had a far worse and easier exit right back out the door. Um, so for a first week back and still being on the outs last week, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna give Haley a 4.
Okay.
But I think if she doesn't go home this week, she could make some more inroads and play well. But I'm still at a where she's not good right now.
From
But
what
I'm hopeful for her.
from what I said before, I really think when she came into the season, it was very apparent that she was trying to play with the big dogs and she was trying to immediately make a name for herself, immediately put herself in that power position. And I think she's come back and she's kind of taken a step back a little bit and been like, okay, taking a deep breath, saying, I don't need to control everything all the time, all at once, because that's what got me evicted the first time. So I think her really, this kind of by almost by chance, her being partnered with Kristen really, really helped her this week because now her and Kristen are gonna get a lot closer than they would have if they didn't win the competition together. I think. Um,
I'm hoping the same thing happens with Alex. Literally, Alex, Haley, and Kristen need to team up together. They would be such good allies. They
God.
all want the same thing in the game, but they're targeting Alex is targeting them for some reason.
um, I'm gonna come in for Haley. I'm gonna give her a five actually. But I'm now that we know what the plan is for the week, I do worry for her. But there's her dot. Kristen.
I listen, this might be the first time, Kristen, get this on camera. We're recording it for you. I love and I'm rooting for Kristen Rake to win the game right now. She has made me so extremely happy because the big thing we worried about coming into this season is that she would just do what Dan says. Well, good news for her, Cassidy has filled those shoes. So Kristen has literally outwardly said multiple times in her diary room and to Dan's face, which you know what, like go off. Maybe not the smartest, but go off. That like, listen, Dan, I'm here to work with you, but I'm not here to play for you. And I'm here to play for the
Dan
team.
has said, I want to make the Dan has said in his DR, first and foremost, I'm here to play with Kristen. Kristen is my number one, blah, 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 blah. And Kristen has said in her DR, Dan, I'm playing to win. I'm not playing for you. Dan said to her, he was like, David needs to go this week. And Kristen was like, then you win HOH and do it.
And do it yourself because I'm not doing it. It's better for me if Maris goes. Um,
This is definitely, no, this is, I'm sorry. This is not the first time I'm rooting for Kristen Raichu in the game because I was rooting for her
in season
at
one.
like the final seven no, well, yeah, in season one. And then in season seven, after the battle back, I was rooting for Kristen.
I wasn't quite there.
Yeah, I
Um,
know, but I was. So
um, but this is the first time that like I'm seriously really impressed
me
with the
too.
game that Kristen and Kristen alone is playing. Because like I was impressed with Kristen and Niall's game, but that was a partnership and like you know what I mean? Like this
Mhm.
is a game that Kristen is playing herself and is playing it really well, and it makes me really happy. Haley's not going for her. Dan and Cassidy aren't going for her. Anthony, Victoria are not going for her. Riley's not going for her. Maris is who cares what
Alex has to get his head out of his
and
ass.
Alex has to pull himself together and work with this girl because Kristen wants to take all of the right shots. Um, I mean, because she's not fully on the end, I'm not super confident just yet, but I am raising my score and I'm raising it significantly. I'm going up to a 7.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a few people on this memory wall who I'm rooting for to win the game at this point. A couple days ago, Kristen was in the top few. She wasn't at the top, but I think now, like I'm looking at these people and I'm like that would be such we said David would be such a good story arc. Kristen would be such a good story arc.
I would
Come
love
on.
Kristen when the season
First,
ended.
third placer, first like if she won the last competition, she or like if she won the last week, she would have won the entire game. And the
I want her to
same
win the
thing
crossword this time.
twice, twice. It happened twice. So she just needs to not fuck it up this season.
Oh God,
Get to the end again,
this is her
pull
best
herself
game.
together, and do the damn crossword puzzle. So
Uh,
yeah, I'm also going up to a 7. I'm really excited for Kristen. Okay.
I'm gonna start with Maris. Let's just get this out of the way because let's recap the season so far. We said Murph had actively played the all around worst social game, just horrible people skills. Oh my god, horrible game. Did it to himself. Cade actively played dumb and just why would you tell two people the same thing but then don't do either? Like what? Maris actively is playing the most delusional game where literally, let's recap what she did this week. She started by nominating Riley straight up, saying, I'm nominating Riley. Fine. Riley put you up. You seem to be okay so far. We then say, okay, okay, house, me on All Stars. I'm going to spin a wheel. Oh, sorry, Alex, person that I just formed very tight bond with and don't want to see go up, but Anthony told me to put up. You're now on the block because of the wheel. Alrighty, one, you look very stupid in front of the entire house for using a wheel as an excuse. Grow up. Two, you are burning that bridge with Alex that you just built up so much. Three, you also let Riley know that you didn't care to not nominate her to put her on the wheel. You're just going to put her straight up. So that's check 1, 2, 3. Why?
We're only at the nomination ceremony.
We have the nomination ceremony. Then the veto happens. Oh, well, sorry. Well, let's talk about the plan that was going to happen. Had things gone according to Maris's plan, Dan would have gone up on the block and gone home because Maris would have been the genius. Guess what, Maris? You would have had egg on your face because you would have put Dan up and Dan would have stayed because Anthony has never been with you and is going to be flipping or never been with you in terms of just like playing the game with you. He's going to keep you around like the little puppet that you are. Um, um, so
That would have been such a
Ah!
better week, though. I wish Alex won in the end, but
Um, so Alex or Riley would have gone home against Dan. So, but Dan won the veto and uh saved Alex, which means new person on the block. So what does Maris do? Maris goes, there are people with safety in the house, and they lied to me about not having it.
only to her
How
though.
dare they?
Only to
How
her.
dare they do that? I am the HOH. I get owed all of the information. So what we do then is we nominate Haley. Uh-oh. We know that Haley can't get put up, so we nominate her anyway. Uh-oh, Haley can't be nominated. Oh, what? What? Oh, so now she knows Kristen can't go up either. So she nominates Kristen. Kristen's safe too. What? You people lied to me? Guess what, Maris? Everyone already knew they were safe, and now you've just given Haley and Kristen two reasons to target you because you put them up on the block, whether you've been it as a joke or not, because you played it. Not only did you like put them up, and it would be one thing if you put them up and said these people had a safety. I just wanted to expose it. No, you put them up knowing that they were safe, and we're like, what? Oh my gosh! I guess it would have just paid to tell me the truth. No, stupid, dumb, idiot. So Maris has now put up four people on the block, and three of them are now safe. Because the rest of the house already knew that they were safe anyway. And now, to top it all off, what does she do? Anthony convinces her to put up Matthew, the one person that has been telling her all of the right information, but Maris can't get her ego down small enough to possibly think that she could be wrong. And Matthew, one of the smartest players of all time, in my opinion, again, best, like smartest, Matthew thinks with his head and is smart. And Maris is, what's the scientific term? Dumb. Um, and puts him up on the block and then campaigns to send him over Riley, the person that you put up on the block without a wheel in the first place, home. On
Oh,
top of
but
that,
don't forget
you
that she
lied to everyone and said you were going to put up David.
don't forget that she nominated Kristen and Haley with the wheel, and the timestamps of the wheel were not
From a
correct.
half hour ago. From a
And
half hour
also
ago.
they were out of order. Like Kristen's was before Haley's.
Kristen was before Haley's. And also, she sent Haley's. And then it was like, oh, Haley can't go up. Okay, new wheel. Here's this wheel from a half hour ago. Like, literally, there wasn't a single brain cell that went into this week. And she thinks she's so smart playing with Anthony. Well, guess what, Maris? How smart is this? Lowest score of the week, 3.
Two. I'm going
And you're
two.
lucky. Okay,
I'm
good. Yeah, you're lucky it's not a 2.
um and
This was
also I'm
atrocious.
pretty sure nearly every single person on this board says Maris needs to go next week. With the exception of like Dan, who is still targeting David, and Anthony, who is like with Maris. But Dan does not like that Maris has tied his name into the Matthew plan because everybody knows that he wanted David to go home. So why is Maris saying Dan was the one that came up with this plan? It doesn't make any sense. Everybody wants her to go. Just go home, please.
Oh my God, this
2.5.
is so bad.
Hey. Okay.
Atrocious.
Matthew.
Matthew. Okay, so I have said this the whole season. I said, if you play really well, I'm going to give you the high scores. I'm not going to wait to give someone the 9 or the 10 if they're playing a 9 or 10 game in the early game. In that same fashion, I'm not reserving ones or twos for people that were really like if you just didn't do that well, 2. So like that whole flops get 4 situation, not the case. However, here's a situation that we haven't yet run into. This week, Matthew still played a fine game. I have no reason to give Matthew a 1. I have no reason to give Matthew a 2. I have no reason to give Matthew a 3. If people, aka Maris Meyer, was not doo dumb, Matthew should not have gone home. If the voters, like, thank God Kristen and Haley woke up. Cassidy and Alex, where were you? Dan, where were you? Sleeping in your dumb bed. Um,
Okay.
Matthew should still be here. It was smart for everyone to keep Matthew around, except for Anthony, and that's why Anthony has a 9. So you know what? I'm only giving Matthew a 4 because he
I'm
went
also
home.
giving Matthew a four, and
Yeah, I
this is
can't.
how I've always been. I said if you go home and it is not your fault, and you did everything you could to stay, you don't deserve a low enough score that other
No,
people get.
yeah, Maris. I hope you and your dumb doo doo pants are sitting all high and mighty that you sent home Matthew, but when he got a higher score than you, stupid. I'm so over these people.
The season has felt like 2 months already. It has been like 20 days.
Yesterday was day 21. 3 weeks. It's
So I
been
mean
three
today.
weeks.
Okay, Riley.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, somewhat due to circumstances beyond her control, somewhat due to just like the people that have gone home, I no longer feel confident about Riley's chances. I think they're kind of down the drain right now. I think she is now the new house pawn, and eventually the knife is just going to get her. I don't think she has the power to make a move, and if she does get HOH to do so, I think she's just gonna. I have no confidence that she's gonna make the right one, unfortunately. So I love her to death, but I am gonna lower my score to a 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay at my five. I partially disagree with what you said. I agree, circumstances beyond her control. I agree, people who have gone home, people that she's working with, either aren't as loyal to her or also are bad, Alex. Um, so I'm really kind of not super confident in what she can do in the coming weeks. But with that being said, I disagree on the fact that her chances are currently like down the drain. I don't think that in
I think that's
as
true.
strongly as you might have worded it. I don't know if that's how you meant it, but I don't particularly agree with that. Um,
I think in the state of flushing down the drain, or not flushed, but I see them slipping away.
so we'll see. But
Is
yeah, I'm
where
saying
I'm.
fun fact. This is only Haley's oh no third ranking. Yeah, we that would make sense. But I only saw two. 4 point. Okay, Victoria.
Um, Queen of giving us nothing. Last week,
Three. That's what I'm saying. That's what I have to say.
we are now. I'm hoping that this week will change my mind, and I'm hoping that Victoria will play her own game. But if we see Alex on the block this week, I think I'm going to lose my mind because that is the work of Anthony Ventresca. Um, so for me, with this new alliance of Maris, David, Anthony, Victoria, despite them all being house targets, Victoria is, I think, the smallest target out of all of them. And I think people have the least reason to go after her. However, I see her in a similar spot as Riley, where she's going to go up and could just go home one of the times. But because Matthew went home, and that was a huge problem for her, if Matthew won HOH, he would have put up Anthony and Victoria would have been the one to go. So Matthew going home, I think, is actually like almost better for Victoria's game than it even was for Anthony's. Um, I'm gonna go up to a 5.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going down to a three. Um,
Oh wow, okay.
as far as last week was, I was very annoyed with Victoria. Um, we've been at the point the entire season where she's kind of just been texting Anthony, asking him what's happening, and literally just doing what he has said. So honestly, I don't even really care if Matthew going home was better for her game because what is she even going to do with it if she doesn't have a game to begin with? You know, like
Yeah, that's valid.
I don't think it matters. Like I feel like your opinion is valid, but I feel like it doesn't even matter. Like it
That's
like
true. What is she gonna do to win? I think 0.
granted we still are in the first week of the jury. These are how my thoughts were last week. Since yesterday night, since she won HOH, I am hopeful that something can happen from it. But at the end of last week, I was just like, I can't deal with it anymore. Like she needs to do something or leave. So three for me.
Alrighty. With that,
Um, Cool.
We've got Anthony up at the top, far away from everyone else. I mean, truthfully, at this point, I don't I don't know when Anthony goes home.
Something needs to change. Like,
Something needs to major the change. You know what needs to change? People need to wake up. Get out of your stupid little beds and wake up and play the game. And quit complaining about the game.
we should make a house announcement. Everybody wake up.
Wake up. It's time to play.
You should
Um,
send an accidental message to the house chat saying, "Oh my gosh, everybody this season needs to wake up." And be like, "Oh my gosh,
or what if I send an
can you play that?"
accidental? What if I send an accidental message? Oh my god, I hate how good Anthony's playing in the game. Not like accidentally good either. Like really, really good. Um, yeah, yeah. But Kristen is second place, and I think deservedly so. She's the only other person that I think has a good head on her shoulders about the game currently. She's not blinded by the obvious easy move. Kristen is pulling in the right people to try and work with, is trying to target the right people, and I'm impressed with her. And the only issue is she's trying to play with people that want to take a nap. Um, Dan's too set on David. Alex is too set on complaining about Dan wanting David. Haley's on a cruise ship. Um,
Literally.
and we know how ships go in this game. I mean, Alex can attest. So, um, I don't feel that great.
We'll
Um,
see.
but I hope for Kristen because she deserves it at this point.
I do feel like if there was a time for the game to be changing, it would be either this upcoming week or next week.
It was last week, and
Well,
Maris
it didn't
screwed it
happen
up.
last week, so this week or next week. Uh,
Um, so yeah,
I mean, we'll
down
see.
at the bottom, Maris.
Shocker.
No more words. Dumb. Okay, now I'm done. And then Matthew, who went home, Victoria, and Alex. I'll be interested to see what happens this week. Truthfully, I think Victoria wants Haley out. And I think Haley probably is the most likely person to go home because I think Haley's going to be most likely sitting next to Alex or Cassidy. But this beach patrol competition, most likely, unless the group of Anthony, David, and Maris wins, is going to screw everything up. But I think the four people that are up in danger, the five people, are Haley in most danger, Cassidy and Alex in tier two,
Well, Anthony's throwing it. And I don't think David and Maris are going to win, to be honest.
Riley, and here's what I'm confused about. Everyone is throwing it. Someone has to win.
Someone's got to win by themselves.
And I also don't understand why you're throwing the competition that gives you nothing except for
Well, it
safety.
also gives safety to other people too.
Big whoop.
Like
You really
if
want to not be safe at the final 10?
well, Anthony knows he's safe.
And Anthony doesn't want to give, Anthony wants to then lose the competition and give safety to 50% of the other people that are up.
I'm not saying Anthony's making the right decision. I'm saying that it makes sense in some scenarios to throw the competition.
I think it makes sense in almost zero. None of the scenarios this week make sense. Everyone should be fighting to win this competition, either because they're not safe and they need to be, or because if they don't win, 50% of the pool of options is now safe and one of your allies could be in danger. Because listen, if Anthony throws this, fine. But all of a sudden, Maris has a really good shot of going up on that block and home. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think people aren't using their brains. You know who used his brain? Matthew. You know who's
Go
using her
back
brain?
only for
Kristen.
Matthew. Bonus life.
Yeah, literally, right? A power has been played.
I'm so sad. No, I'm literally so sad about Matthew.
I'm so sad. He was one of the few people that it made me happy to see him play the game because he was smart. He was smart. And the rest of you,
Stupid.
stupid, dumb doo-doo pants. That's what I have to say. Anyway,
Uh,
yeah, I have nothing else to say. I'm very interested to see who ends up going home this week. I think there's a lot that can happen.
yeah, we'll see.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Until like 3 weeks from now when we record our next rankings.
Record
Stop.
on